That dragon's not so big. Damn, that's a big dragon! This game looks fantastic. Look at the level of detail on these champions, and there's hundreds of them to collect and customize further. How do these people have so many ideas? And it's on mobile? Nurse, get me my mobile now! Shut up!
Do you want the most immersive and ambitious RPG of 2019 in the palm of your hands and want it right now without paying anything because nobody is good enough for your money? Then look no further than Raid Shadow Legends, the only game to be named after a man with a blocked nose trying to give a forecast.
Honey, what's the weather like out there?
Raid.
Featuring an amazing storyline, awesome 3D graphics that run smoother than a butt, giant boss fights and even PvP battles, Raid seems to have it all for a mobile game to even compete with console games.
And by going into the description of this video and downloading Raid now through my special link, not only will you get 50,000 silver straight away, but also, the coolest bit, get automatically entered into a special launch tournament where you'll be able to fight me, not him, me, and other players in order to get some crazy in-game loot and physical prizes in real life.
All the info you need is down below, so thanks so much to Raid for sponsoring, and be sure to start raiding in Raid today. Raid.
Did I mention it's free? I don't think my heart can take any more excitement. I'm gonna need some first Raid. TV, whoa, you can't beat TV. I mean, take a look at all of this spectacular programming specifically catered to my needs.
In 1974, the Japanese company Sanrio created what red bow-wearing cartoon cat? Mario.
TV blows. Whoever came up with TV deserves to die. I haven't seen anything this bad What was that? What? It's that time again, boys and girls. Time to dig and delve into the world of PS1. But we're not going to be looking at a well-known classic today. Instead, we're going to be looking at a game lauded as so disturbing, so violent, and so perverted it was never released in the first place. Even though it received the extremely rare adults-only rating from the ESRB, which only 28 other games in human history have received. And I feel like this game and I have a deep connection because I know exactly what it feels like to be banned.
What do you mean I'm not allowed back in the boat club? Listen, I only sniffed them a little bit. Okay, well this game wasn't exactly banned, poor choice of words. It's closer to what I said earlier, it was actually just never released in the first place, like my granddad. From prison. Thrill Kill, as the game is delightfully called, was scheduled for release in mid-1998 and developed by Paradox Development, who also made The Lion King's Simba's Mighty Adventure. How do you go from a game so offensive that it was never released to Disney's Simba being stuck in a wall? I don't know, but you've got to remember that at this point in time, video gaming was getting more attention, yet the respect from the mainstream wasn't quite earned yet, and it was still submerged with controversy after controversy. Not only were politicians as fragile as sandcastles, but the general public were arguably just as flimsy. Like wet tissue paper. Everyone and their grandmas thought that games themselves were killing people. You know, not rifles, not substances, and not East 17's dress sense. It has always, and always will be, in fact, nothing but video games. Have you seen how many kidnappings per year alone are caused by them? It's an epidemic.
Why are you crying? Save your tears. We haven't even started yet.
No. Please stop.
Young man, pain is your home now.
I'm curious now. Let's see exactly what this game did to never get released. Well, burst my boiler!
Yeah, I can see why nobody wanted this game to come out. It should have been banned from this intro alone. If Lara Croft and her ridiculous breeds were too much for the public back then, there's no way they'd be okay with an intense drug-fueled fever dream followed by a twitching, pulsating eyeball. That's nasty. So Thrill Kill is actually an arcade fighting game, and I don't really know what to say about it from this FMV alone. There are some things I've seen plenty of times before, and some things I wish I never saw. So let's jump into the menu. Yeah, as to be expected, nothing much else going on here. Arcade, versus, it's standard fighting game nonsense. But I really do love the fire. That gap at the bottom of the screen where they cut the fire off too short makes it look like it's really there. So let's start off with an arcade match, and boy, Oh boy! What a delightful cast of characters we have to choose from today. Who do we pick? Tormentor, who looks like an angry thumb. Belladonna, with a long stringy poo coming out of her head. Dr. Faustus, who might as well be called Dr. Fawcett because he looks like a tap oddball, who... oh man, I think I found my favourite. The Imp, who looks... normal. Violet, who only needs to guard this particular half of her chest. Mammoth, who reminds me of a fig. Or Cletus, who loves you so much he doesn't care what time of the month it is, he's going down, man.
Am I disgusting? Yeah? Good.
I kind of feel like Oddball will cut out my gizzard with a spoon if I don't pick him, so have at it, friends. I've chosen my character and I'm ready to beat you all to Kingdom Come. Oh, for Christ's sake, trust me of all people to pick the guy with no arms. Okay, we're off, and as to be expected, I can only kick and use my head. Fantastic. I've been knocked down already. Oh God, I'm off. I'm the front end of a steamroller. Oh, come on, man, stop it. Don't do that to the only other part of my body that I can use. I think Mammoth really has it out for my head. Don't you think this is a little bit unfair? Oh God, Mammoth is red. Mammoth is red. Mammoth is red. What do I do? Can I hit him? I'm gonna try and hit him. I don't think it's working. Oh dear, what have I done? What have I done? Blow it, all my head's gone.
Pressing the red button now, mummy!
Okay, that was disastrous, but I'm gonna do it again, and already I'm doing much better. Look, I'm even managing to juggle enemies with my own head. That's special. I mean, I may have no arms to help me out, but that doesn't seem to bother Johnny Rotten over here. He's insanely acrobatic. I'm impressed, Oddball. Look at these insane leggy combos you've got going. Oh yes, now I've gone red. And since we know what that means, yes, it's time to press the red button on somebody's vital organ. So why don't we pick Mammoth as revenge for knocking off my head earlier? I can't wait to see what I do to him.
Well, that sucked.
One opponent down, 2 to go. Maybe I should try pressing another action button at the red superpower segment at the end of the fight. Maybe I'll get a different animation or something.
That was ridiculous!
At this point, I don't think the Tormentor has a single chance against me. I've got the hang of the game now, so what happens at the final red button moment? Oh, right, okay, something completely different happens. We get electrocuted and then turn blue instead. Okay, well, what does this mean then? I've still got to go over and grab him to end the fight, so, okay, come here. No, come here. Come here! Come here! I think it's safe to say I won.
Right, okay. I know it's way too early to judge. I mean, that was only a single match of the entire game, but I remember being way more shocked seeing my first ever match of Mortal Kombat. The original Mortal Kombat, which came out 6 years before this game was supposed to. This isn't that bad.
I'm sorry if I come across as insensitive, but if you think this had every right to be banned, then you have to be General Thick from Planet Dum Dum. I've seen a lot worse than this for games that weren't banned or unreleased at earlier points in time. Was it because this was entirely in 3D, so at the time it looked the most realistic that Gore could look at this particular point in gaming? Well, that can't be it, because House of the Dead hit Japanese arcades 2 years before this game was set to release, Nightmare Creatures was on the same console, allowed you to hack off limbs, and came out a year before. Hell, what about Grand Theft Auto? Same console 1 year before, and as opposed to being in an unrealistic morgue kicking people's heads off with backflips, here we're able to drive around a more grounded and realistic city and literally run people over. Pedestrians. Doesn't this hit a bit too close to home? How about the original Leisure Suit Larry? Don't think I even need to explain what's going on there, and yet it released on the shelves 11 years before Thrill Kill was ever going to come out. Apparently what this is actually about is that around the time the game was set to come out in a totally finished state, EA randomly came along and bought out Interactive, leading them to look at the game, promptly thrup all over the kitchen floor, and decide to not even bother publishing it out of fear of damaging the company's reputation.
EA, afraid of damaging their reputation. Well, I mean, I guess I can't blame them. I know they do strive to provide their players with a sense of pride and accomplishment.
EA Games.
Piss off everyone! So aside from EA once again proving that they were scumbags from the very beginning, getting tons of people fired and not releasing a finished game that a dedicated team spent months making, the funniest thing to me out of all of this is that, you know, I just don't understand where they were coming from. For a naughty new never released banned from the public PS1 game, I'm afraid to say the hype really isn't worth it, because not only is this one of the tamest banned games I've ever seen, but it's also as fun as Lockjaw. kidding me? According to online sources, the game's story is that this weird goddess of secrets, what does that mean, is getting bored and so decides to bring up all of the fighters in this game from the deepest depths of hell in order to kill each other for her amusement. And if they manage to kill everybody else as a reward for their bloodshed, she'll resurrect one of them to go back to the real world and commit more of the atrocities that got them stuck in hell in the first place. Pretty dark stuff there. It's just a shame that none of this is made clear anywhere in the game to pull me into the world. I mean, that intro FMV did toss all to explain stuff to me. This looks like the start of a Tony Hawk game. So why couldn't a dark and ominous story FMV sequence take place here? I'm not even sure if you get an ending cutscene for any of the characters you play as, because to be totally honest with you again, I couldn't stomach to play the game for any longer than 2 hours. It's not very good. Maybe it's a blessing that it never came out. All you do is walk around a cramped boxy room with different wallpaper for each stage, hit action buttons for combos and grabs, don't bother aiming for anyone in particular because all you need to do is land hits to build up a meter, have an automatically activated special move once the meter is full, then pick a random fighter, again it doesn't matter, knock them out of the round with a totally original please do not steal Mortal Kombat fatality, and then rinse and repeat until you're the last one standing. Now I know what you're thinking, this sounds pretty repetitive and terrible. And you're right, even better because of the way the game is played without health bars and such, much like how PS All-Stars messed itself up, matches can go on for as long as they feel like until somebody succeeds. Made even better if you're unable to finish a round off before your special attack timer runs out, causing the round to essentially restart, or survive until the very end of a match with just you and one more opponent and then lose to that opponent, meaning that you have to start all over again and fight all 3 of the collective opponents that you just beat and survive until the end of the match all over again. This is monotony incarnate, and I for one am getting pretty sick of the limited animations of Oddball due to the depressing fact he has no arms, so I'm done. I'm gonna start again, but pick some other random person to—
Ooh, hang on a gosh darn second. I think I just found alternate costumes?
Yep, I accidentally just discovered different outfits for our raggle-taggle gang of misfits. Holy mother, I need to see all of these. And you know what? Some of them are pretty cool, but most of them, I don't know. For instance, do you want Tormentor like this? Or with a slightly raised collarbone? Do you want Dr. Forster standing here? Or standing slightly closer to the camera? Do you want Mammoth like this? Or a different colour with a bigger frown? And oh my biscuits, I've got to give them credit here. I love how no matter what costume you pick for Cletus, he still has blood all over his face. He's like a baby eating tomato soup. The absolute best thing about him though is that in every costume he's got a large amount of blood on his face, except for one costume where he has less blood on his face but more hair. Why? Did he use the spare bits of blood to stick a wig on?
But believe it or not, these are the costumes that actually make the most sense, so please sit back and enjoy as I show you the costumes I just didn't get.
The Green Goblin, Cyclops with braces, Blow-Up Doll, Wednesday Addams, Male Nurse, Traffic Light, and my favourite of the whole bunch, just in case you wanted it, Oddball for some unexplained reason, has a cross-eyed skin. Why? Anyway, for this rematch in arcade mode, I decided to pick Dr. Fawcett. Thinking that having 2 more active limbs than my last character would make things more interesting, but no. I was given no more combos, no additional special moves, and aside from a few brutal grab moves and a pretty nasty finisher, the basic moves as a whole were just as uninteresting and undefined as my last character. I reiterate, the game is just not very good. Aside from the fact that it's a button masher in its purest form with a limited amount of ways to link limb-to-limb combos together aside from tapping one button over and over again, the main problem I have is the lock-on system and how loose it is. You see, you do have different moves activated by pressing directional buttons along with an attack button, all relative towards the enemy you're facing, kind of like with Tekken, but the biggest issue with that is that 2/3 of the time you have more than one person on the screen and your character can't tell their arse from their elbow. They just look at whoever they want to, interrupting your combos, making you attack empty spaces towards a faraway enemy even though there's another enemy right next to you. It just feels sluggish. And yeah, it may not be Battle Arena to Shinden levels of lumpy, it's responsive, but that doesn't mean anything when you can barely move anywhere without someone else right next to you randomly grabbing you because the AI's default behaviour is to gang up on you like you're an old lady on Black Friday. There's absolutely no strategy, not helped out by the lack of urgency of you needing to focus on a particular enemy because it really doesn't matter in this game. Nobody has a health bar. You can't knock out a specific enemy giving you trouble quickly or work together to take down an enemy that's giving you all trouble before turning on each other. You just mercilessly smack everyone around until your fatality meter is high enough to be used, at which point, then then you can pick who gets knocked out, and if it's a computer player that gets this fatality, well, it seems to be totally random if they go for you or not. And even if they don't go for you, it's more likely that they'll go for another enemy not giving you any trouble in the first place. Thrill Kill is totally aimless as a fighting game. There's no hook, there's no satisfying gameplay loop, nothing to learn from how to read your opponents. It's a total bloodbath.
I know the kids are dead, but my skin looks fantastic.
And that wouldn't be awful if that's what they were going for. I mean, Twisted Metal could be pretty chaotic and every man for himself, but the fact that there is actually so little variation to the violence in the first place, and repeated shots of characters' heads getting kicked off over and over again, it doesn't only completely bore me when Mortal Kombat was infinitely more creative, but confuses me as to why EA didn't feel like it was appropriate to release. I mean, it's not pleasant, it is violent, but it's nothing notable for video game gore, and even with the disturbed, pleasurable aspects, well, aside from some of the costumes that are a little, how do you say, suggestive, the only other thing that happened in the game for me was that somebody moaned here. And that was it!
You know what? I'm curious, since we already know how perfect and precious EA are, why don't we take a look at the company's publishing history before this game was supposed to come out and see if indeed it would have been a stain on their squeaky clean image.
In 1991, EA published a game on the Sega Genesis called The Immortal, featuring some of the most graphic death animations of its time before the original.
No, as I expected. EA are just terrible. EA. Everything's awful. Get out.
Even stranger, despite this game's cancellation, I guess so that they had something to show from it, the engine and mechanics from Thrill Kill would go on to be recycled in future games made by Paradox Development. Yes, I said games, as in more than one. I feel sorry for them doing all this work for it to go nowhere at all, because you know what ended up being made from the scraps of Thrill Kill? Wu-Tang Shaolin Style, a fighting game about the rap group the Wu-Tang Clan. What more can I say? They then reused it for X-Men Mutant Academy, then reused it for X-Men Academy 2, and then reused it for Rock'em Sock'em Robots Arena, which, if you ask me, is appropriate because of all the constant button mashing Thrill Kill is full of. But I mean, yeah, I'd feel bitter as well if all your work didn't see any return because someone cancelled it at a finished state at the last minute, but the game itself is just not very good, so why reuse it? More to the point, who else finds it funny that a game about a plastic toy that ended up as a cameo in the family film Toy Story 2 is a repurposed version of a game where you can play as a masked man in tight-fitting leather with a chain whip?
And would you look at that, in my absolute confusion, I am now already dead. Wonderful. And no, I'm not carrying on with this game because I'm bored of it.
Where am I in the high scores then? Oh, I'm at the bottom. Terrific. Don't you dare look at me like that, Kev. In fact, you know what? Bugger off, Kev. You're just as bad as Dennis.
Hey, I'm kind of done with this game. Do you mind taking it back?
I only sniffed them a little bit. Hey there everybody, and thank you so much for watching this video about a banned PS1 game until the very end. Means a lot to me. Stay tuned, there will be outtakes at the very end of this video. It will be right there, so just stay tuned for a second, because first of all, yeah, I want to thank you again for watching. If you're new here, please consider subscribing and follow me on my social medias in the description below. My Instagram and my Twitter. I do polls on there. There's pictures allowing you to vote on stuff. There's all sorts of things going on Twitter and Instagram with me, so if you want to keep up to my day-to-day shenanigans, that is where you got to go to. And I also need to thank every single one of these people on the screen right now who have helped supported this channel via Patreon, especially all the new influx of people after I updated the page. Thank you so much for joining in on keeping the channel alive, guys. Thank you so much. And once again, before the outtakes come on, special thanks to the top tier supporters for this month. Basil, Exopaz, Matthew Hubble, The Mirthful Misanthrope, Brandon, Cyberpunk Symphony, Nicole Ganara, Dave Marshall, Fart Rules, Crotchety Old Emu, still my two favourite names on this entire page, Jurgen Peacock, Raven Kujikawa, The Game Shed, Daniel Leon, Mitchell Reed, and A.D. Thornton Smith. Thank you so much, every single one of you amazing people.
I hope you're all aware this is the only time you're ever going to see this. Ever. And the front door is right there. So if the postman comes in, he's going to get the shock of his life. TV blows! Whoever came up with TV deserves to die! I haven't... Oh, Jesus, I'm running out of breath. My head's falling down! Am I Hey, God, I'm gonna miss that dog. Hey, Thanks, Charlie. How about we take a look at the company's publishing history of video games before this game was supposed to come out and see if in there. Ow.
It doesn't look too bad on you.
It doesn't look too bad on me. Thank you. I was just going to say to the camera that I find it funny. I'm actually wearing this before Caddicarus has. This is the first time it's been worn. And couldn't think of a better purpose for it.
You can keep it, it's fine.
Ow! Ow!